Hey, beautiful friends. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Networking Done Different, an outreach of an invitation to more.com. Today, I have Julie Leith. She is a certified aging in place specialist. So that's an interesting topic I haven't come across before. Let's see what we can learn today. Hey, Julie.
Hey, how are you, Sarah?
I'm great.
Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. First of all, what got you into this line of work, and then we'll talk about what it actually is.
So I have spent the last 25 years as a practicing social worker in multiple lifespans, from infant adoption all the way to hospice. And I recently left the agency world and started my own business, durable assistance and consulting. And so my goal is to keep people in their homes as their forever home, however they define home. And in order to do that, I felt like it was important to get the certified aging in place specialist designation. There are 3,000 of us in the country, so not very many of us, and all come from different perspectives. So you may have a certified aging in place that's an interior designer, a construction company, elder law attorney, and we all kind of come of it at a different place. But the goal is how to keep people where they want to be as they age.
And what sort of things prevents that from happening?
So the biggest issue is people's homes. Right. So if your home is not a place that can accommodate your needs, just like we age, so do our homes. And unfortunately, so what happens is, regular maintenance doesn't get done. And nobody wants to pay for regular maintenance. So it's really common. The other problem we're finding is there's a term called universal design. It's a very new term that is just now making some traction. And that is a design of products and services and environments that create the most accessible for the most people, no matter who you are. So I always give the example of the doorknob. So twisting a doorknob can be difficult for kids, can be difficult for people with arthritis, can be difficult with people. So that is not the ideal product that most people can use. So we always recommend that they use lever handles, because the lever handle most people can accept. That's just like a quick example of universal design. The other thing is there's, probably the top 5 things that keep people from aging in their home is their home environment, comorbid, so multiple medical diagnosis, which is a result of multiple things. But as we know, like, to age in your home is not something that's really done overnight. It is a process of creating a lifestyle where you're moving, exercise, moving, healthy eating, all of those things. And I would say the other thing is a big issue with people being able to stay in their home is falls. So that goes all the way back to home environment and health and wellness. And so I really look at the whole picture, not just their house. Because it really does take several components to try to get it right.
Well, it's a lovely idea that we should all plan ahead and live our lives in a healthy fashion. The truth of the matter is
right. So we don't, right? Generally, we're not always there, myself included. So I don't come from a place of like, judgment. You have not done it right. Yeah, it's not that. So I think, it's baby steps. So one of the things I start with is, hey, have you done an annual physical exam? Do you even have a primary care doctor? Or it doesn't have to be a medical model. It can be a holistic, homeopathic. Do you have someone looking at you to say, hey, things are going really well, or we need to make some adjustments? I think that's where we start, because people are very resistant to even go to the doctor.
Right.
So, starting there is probably a pretty good place. And then I evaluate people's homes, and I do it virtually or in person if they're locally, and looking at cost-effective solutions. So nobody, including me, wants someone to come in and say, rip your bathroom out because it's not going to work.
Right.
It's just not. I could say it all day long and people will be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
But are there some solutions to keep it safe without doing a whole remodel? And there are. And so I always kind of give people 3 options. Here's the basic, based on where they are. I probably don't want grab bars all through my house.
Right.
I'm almost 50, but I probably don't want that. So what do I need to do to ensure that I'm also not falling? Because I could potentially be a fall risk.
What is the most common thing you see? Like, I think when you and I talked before, you mentioned throw rugs, for example.
Yeah. So throw rugs are the easiest thing to get rid of, and people are the most resistant to do.
I love that rug.
I love that freaking dirty, nasty rug. I love it. So I recently did a presentation for 100 women, all 50 and up, and some of them in their 90s. Super fun. And the presentation was called "For the Love of the Throw Rug." So I know, and they were just cracking up. So
That's awesome. I love that so much.
I know. I'm like, in fact, I was like, Sarah, I was like, can I just create a podcast that's called "For the Love of the Throw Rug"?
Yes. Yes.
I'm thinking there's a whole marketing platform there. But
Absolutely.
So throw rugs, there are some options though that are still comfortable, that can still be put in place, that aren't sliding all over the place.
Yeah.
Anybody can, especially if you've got one of those kind of flimsy rugs that sits on tile or linoleum or wood floors. They're super dangerous.
Yeah.
And there's a whole industry making millions of dollars off of them.
Right. They're in cahoots with the medical industry somehow.
I know. Well, it's something like $50 million was spent over 1 year in medical care related to falls.
Oh, wow.
It is. And here's the thing, 1 in 4 people over 65 will fall this year. And then like 1 of every 5 will have some kind of injury or traumatic brain injury. It's the main cause of traumatic brain injuries and hip fractures.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but usually what happens, we wait and that occurs. And then we might be like, okay, I got to do something about it. Here's the thing. Nobody wants to talk about their own mortality and that we're getting old. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we have a whole industry providing anti-aging products and services, which I'm all for those if they make you feel good. But the reality is they are not anti-aging. We're all going to age, right? And some of my best buddies own med spas and all of that. And I will go to them and get a massage and do a facial and all of that. But the reality is we're still aging, even at 10, we're aging. And so and the problem is 90% of adults, older adults, so 65 and older, want to stay in their home. And we have no plan for that to happen as a country. We haven't figured, we haven't really figured it out. And if I say to someone, okay, do you have an extra $100,000 that you want to spend on nursing home? Right? If you have to. Well, if they have it, they don't want to spend it on that. Right. So it's really about, we make purchases based on our emotions. Nobody feels good about having to fix something because they're getting older. So I do a lot of education and advocacy about, I want you to live your best life, whatever that looks like. And so how do we make that happen in a way that's comfortable for people?
Mhm. Now, typically, when I hear the phrase aging in place,
Mhm,
what comes to my mind is, okay, somebody is ill and
mhm.
they could actually go to a nursing home, but they really, really, really don't want to. So they're like, okay, how can I now stay in my home? But
Right. And
it sounds like
yeah.
this is a way broader
Yeah.
scope than that.
So I think that you're in the majority when people think about that. It is about, hey, I'm really in a bind now, and now I'm going to have to go to a nursing home unless I can figure out my home. And obviously, I can help with that. So you
Right.
can set up ways for people to stay in their home as opposed to going to a facility.
Mhm.
But what I would love to see happen is that people are really planning ahead, because
Yeah.
when it becomes an emergency, you get backed up against a wall and you end up spending lots and lots of money, whether you stay at home or go into a facility that maybe we could avoid some of that. Now, can I say everybody can stay in their home? Probably not. There are
Right.
situations where the resources just are not there. So I don't just look at their home. I like, say, for example, if I was working with you as a client, I
Mhm.
would look at your house, but I would also like look at where you're living, what the resources are. Do you have kids that love you and are going to be there for you, or other relatives or spouse? Is there meal service delivery? Is there transportation options? Like, I kind of look at the whole, it's a social work thing we do, but it's
Yeah.
systems theory, looking at all of those pieces. But what we do in this country, and I do it too, is we wait till it's like an emergency.
Mhm.
Those are not the best cases to work on because options are limited. And so, because sometimes somebody needs to go into like a skilled rehab to get rehab, like they've broken their hip and they're going through rehab, and that's very important, but they want to do rehab and come home. And
Right.
so, are they able to do that? I mean, can they even get in their front door?
Yeah.
Is their bathroom only on the second floor? I mean, it's all of those things. And sometimes people's houses are just not going to work for a wheelchair without a complete overhaul. If the person, there's just a lot of facets in trying to figure it out. It's a challenge
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and also if they have waited until they're in this crisis situation, now on top of everything that else is going on, now they have the stress of, I haven't planned ahead, and now I'm in this bind that I either have to quick figure out something or I'm going to end up in a nursing home.
Right. And so then it ends up costing more money because you've got to make, quick decisions.
Right.
If you're trying to modify your home, it may not be able to be done quickly.
Yeah.
Some things are quick, but some are not. And the other thing is you may not have the resources already set up. Like, what has happened is people in my generation that maybe are caring for a kid like me, I have a kid at home and I have a mother who is aging. Now, my mom is very active, but she's older, right?
Yeah.
So I probably can't quit my job and become her full-time caregiver. So
Right.
then we look at how are we going to what is the plan? And I have plan with my mom, but like, for example, we have spread out as a country, right? Kids are moving all over the place. They're living all over the place. And so sometimes I can come in those situations and really help people find alternatives. Like, for example, there are people that move seniors, right? So like if you want to move from your home and you've decided you want to go into a condo, there are realtors and people that do that. So I collaborate with those folks because we can't, it's a big job and we can't do it all by ourselves.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think you've got it. The key is getting people to think ahead. And the other place I start, we talked about physicians, but advanced directives, like making your own. Who's going to make your medical decisions if you can't? Who's going to make your financial decisions if you can't? That may not always be family. I think people tend to go there, but sometimes sometimes family is not the right option. So
Yeah.
I will do that with families like advanced directives. So at least they have, if you can't make your decisions, somebody will. So there's a lot of aspects in trying to get it right. Because ultimately we want people to be independent.
Yeah. I love what you mentioned about resources. Often people feel not only alone, but like they have no idea who can help them with XYZ. And if they can
Right.
contact a person such as yourself, who
Yeah.
has all this knowledge and resources that you can bring these pieces together, that can
Right.
provide so much relief for them.
Right. So I just did an assessment with a family here, and the couple's been married 63 years.
Mm.
They're cute. They're in their 80s, and he has dementia. And so they are not moving. They are staying right in their house, and they've been very clear. And so, we have done an evaluation, which includes the home evaluation, but it's also a very client-centered list on what they need. So they need something that's pretty simple. One of the disability placards so you can park close. They didn't know how to get it. So I sent it to him and explained to him. So it's just those things that people don't know that they're eligible for. And that is free. That thing doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
So I also try to do that. Like, what are the free things? What does your insurance cover? And then we go from there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you find that it's often the people who directly need your services that contact you, or the children of those people?
It's usually the children of those people,
Mm-hmm.
because those people, they don't need no help. So yeah, right now it has been, as far as direct practice, it has been the children, primarily, people my age that are really looking out for their parents. And I mean, the reality is our 80, 90-year-olds, 70-year-olds, some of them aren't even online. So it's hard for them to find the resources in their community, especially somewhere like Houston, where it's huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just navigating that, right? Being able to navigate going to your doctor, being able to say, this is what I want to do. And I think for those kids, one of the things that's interesting is having the difficult conversations with their parents, that either they've tried to have, and the parents are like, yeah, no, you're just like a pain in my backside,
Right.
and navigating those tricky conversations, because what we do is we do those assessments together. So with the child who I'm contracting with, and the parent. And so I can ask about all of those things that they're uncomfortable asking their parents about.
Yeah.
And usually the parents will tell me. And so, because
you're like this neutral third party, you're not
right
in any way.
Exactly. And they feel like they know I'm a professional, they know I'm coming in. And I always start the conversation with, I am not here to take your independence away. Actually, I'm here to promote it. And I need to know what you need and want. What does it look like to live your best life in retirement, right?
Yeah.
And they're usually like, I'm not going anywhere unless I have to. This is where I want to stay. And then usually they tell me their house is perfectly fine.
Right.
And so we
as you look around and see all the throw rugs.
as I see 25 throw rugs in the house and wheels on chairs, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But sometimes it just helps to have a third person and really explaining to them, like, we're not here to move you, because I think they're scared people are going to make them move. Yeah. Right.
Right.
What
you can come in and say, I've done this for X number of years. I've been to thousands of homes. And even though you think the throw rugs are not a problem, let me please tell you.
Yes.
I've seen it over and over, right?
And it's a tricky conversation. There is some tricky navigations. I mean, I will tell you, I'm going to my mom's house this week because she hasn't let me evaluate her house yet. Right. like officially, like, of course I know the problems. So,
Right, right.
so the negotiation was, I promise you don't have to do anything I say, just let me come in, and because I like to practice, and her house is big enough. It's a good example. But also her house is a problem. And so I know she doesn't want to go anywhere. So what are the things that we can do to make it the safest for her so that she stays there?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a challenge.
If someone wanted to contact you for an evaluation of their home, how would they do that?
Okay, I'm going to give you two ways. The
Okay.
first is my phone number. It is 281-387-5413. And the email is info@durableassistance.com.
Okay.
Both ways.
And you said you can do it in person or via Zoom?
Yeah. So the unique thing about what I do is I'm able to do this assessment virtually, and I've piloted it in about 10 different states. I've done it in different states. But locally, sometimes people want me to go in person, so I will do that as well. But it gives us the opportunity to see inside people's houses without actually having to be on location.
So how do you do that? Does somebody go around with a phone or?
Yeah. So for example, if I was at your house, say you were the client and you were comfortable with Zoom on your phone, you would give me a tour of your house via Zoom, and we would walk through and talk about it. Say that you weren't comfortable on Zoom and it was like a child that was hiring me to, then I ask that they are there. And usually it's surprising. The parents get really, really engaged in the process. And, here's the thing. I'm asking people to allow me into their homes, whether it's virtually or in person. And that is a difficult step to take. And so, I think the education goes a long way to helping people get comfortable with the idea of having someone help them.
Yeah. That's awesome. What else have we not yet covered that you would like?
Oh my gosh, I think we've covered it. We could talk for hours, probably. I could talk about this all day long. So, okay, here's one tip I can give people that are listening. So, like, one of the best ways also to prevent falls, because we talked about throw rugs, is lighting. Making sure that there's enough lighting in your home, and you can actually pretty affordably change your bulbs from regular bulbs to LED bulbs, because you get more lighting and it lasts longer. So some of those tips and tricks of just making it, that's not having anybody knock a wall down or making a bathroom out.
Right. Okay. Good tips.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. There you go.
There you go. How's it get better than that?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We appreciate you as always. If you would like to be interviewed, please email me at networkingdonedifferent@gmail.com. Bye. See you next time.